Was I still in high school?
Yeah.
Whatever age level we're talking about.
Yeah, like 17. I mean, is that when your friends started getting drafted?
No, because you didn't actually get drafted till you were 18.
Right.
You didn't have to register for the draft till you were 18.
Okay.
But all of us in high school, we were all pre-18. I didn't turn 18. I don't think, like my one other best friend I know, his birthday was also in August, like mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I know he didn't turn 18 until the same month I did, which is way after graduation. But we were talking about it all the time because the common knowledge was that everybody like us who didn't have some kind of deferment, if you were going to go to school, you could get a school deferment.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have some kind of deferment like that, bye-bye.
Wow.
You were in.
Yeah. I mean, you
had to go.
That's how it works.
You had to go. And that was at the height of, selection.
7?
Yeah, 67.
Huh.
Summer of 67. So we were talking about it all the time. I remember there was this one guy who was trying to, ramp up his affiliation with some church,
Jeez.
to help get a conscientious objector status, which, they automatically denied.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So you had to apply for that, and you had to have good standing.
Yeah.
Good reason to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you had to have long standing, lots of evidence.
Wow.
Lots of support.
And you had to be Quaker or something.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't think you had to be Quaker.
Yeah.
But you had to have lots of evidence to back that up.
Yeah.
That's what you should be doing. Because mainly they want you in the trench.
Right.
They want you digging foxholes.
Yeah.
They want you blasting napalm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was 17 and we were all talking about it. So after I graduated, by the time I was graduated, because I talked to my dad about it briefly. Who my dad was never in the military. One of the other big influences on me then too was my uncle, my dad's sister's husband, Uncle Orville, and his wife. They had farm in Central California. I used to go spend summers with them. They had 4 kids. And we were kind of in the same age group. We were pretty tight when we were little. And I remember seeing him. I can't remember what year that was, but it would have been somewhere within that year before I graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And he was older than my dad. He was in World War II. He was a German POW.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah, and he still had. I remember he was a farmer. They had dairy farm and row crops and some tree farming too, like almonds and stuff. He worked hard. That guy, the whole family did. So they used to have to. They had a kind of funny deal because they had in the Central Valley of California. There's a great big huge irrigation districts, and you sign up you need water for your crop, your watermelons or hay or whatever, alfalfa, and then the ditch boss would say, okay, you're going to get your water at 2 a.m. Okay, so you got to be there at 2 a.m. to go out there and mend your water. So that's the kind of life that he had. So I would be at his house during the summer. I'd spend with the kids there. And he'd be at the house, come in for lunch or something like that after being up all night doing irrigating. He'd fall asleep in his chair. And if you came up to him like, Uncle Orville, he'd want to hit you right away. And that was a holdover from his days being POW.
Wow.
He'd take a swing at you. All those decades later. But he was a major influence on my decision to evade the draft because he said, this Vietnam War really stinks. It's fucked up.
Yeah. But just real quick, let me say something too that I didn't realize until I mentioned it the other night, but draft dodger is probably a pejorative term. It's probably only used in a negative sense. I'm sorry, I didn't even really think about that until I said it, and I was like, gee, that's probably only used by people in a, degrading sense.
I never really thought about that either.
Yeah, but I thought about, gee, I could have worded that a little better.
Well, it doesn't matter because during that era, that was what I was perceived as.
Right.
And I didn't want to talk about it with anybody. But I had to do it.
Right. But draft resistor, sure,
Draft resistor.
is a little more appropriate. But.
Maybe it's appropriate, but it didn't feel appropriate because I wasn't resisting anything. It was passive.
Right.
You know, it was an draft evader.
Right.
Is kind of pretty correct. You know, I evaded it.
Right.
I just kind of went under the radar.
Huh. So he encouraged you, and what did he give you advice on how to do it? I mean, it's interesting that he would go out of his way.
Yeah, I know. We kind of like had one conversation about it, one time. You know, because I was talking to him. I think I don't remember specifically, you know, the whole conversation, but I remember talking to him about, you know, me and my friends are talking about this and that, and he said, well, you know, what kind of hoop-de-doo jumping through hoops with conscientious objector stuff and all this, and he goes, why don't you just kind of lay low?
Right.
You know, just kind of disappear, be under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Huh.
So that was what I
And
did.
you're living with, well, and what was your home life like then? I mean, I just when I look back on the stuff you've told me about your dad's careers,
Yeah.
and I have this picture of, you know, experimental aircraft pilot,
Oh yeah.
country western singer.
Yeah.
What was he doing at that time?
At that time, he had his own little combo that he traveled around with, but we were.
So he was performing
He was
musician.
He was a performing musician. You know, I can't remember exactly what he was doing right then because we would have these stints where we would just be on the road for months and months and months and months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, little towns for 30 days.
And how many high schools did you?
14.
14 high schools.
14 high schools. but there were, you know, it's kind of, this is the really strange part, is that there were, like my freshman year in high school, one high school.
Huh. So you get some friends. Make some relationships.
Yeah, I got some friends. Senior year in high school was almost all, you know, out of the 9 months of school, I think there was probably 7.5, 8 months of it in one school.
Wow, okay.
And then my sophomore year was maybe only 2 or 3 schools, but the junior year was like. So that senior year, we were in the Bay Area, in Castro Valley. We were living at my grandmother's house. 6 kids, my dad, my stepmom, and my grandmother in her 2-bedroom house.
Wow. Wow.
You know, we were there for months and months and months. Just
Man.
packed in there.
Huh.
You know, just kind of. But we did a lot of crazy stuff. I was talking with my sister Wally, who lives in Tri-Cities.
Mm-hmm.
She mentioned to me the other day. She said, you know, I really think about those days when we were living at the dump outside of Reno. We probably lived there for weeks and weeks. You know, it could have been a month, 3 weeks or something. You know, it was an abandoned dump. It wasn't being used. Right. But it was the dump.
Oh, literally.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was this great big huge expanse. You know, nobody around. And we were camped out there for 2 or 3 weeks.
Camped out? Like how? Like a little trailer set up or something?
No, we had one car. I don't know how we did it. I don't know. And I talked to her about this. I said, well, how did we do that? She says, I don't know. But I just remember, you know, we were little kids. We just played and had fun.
Wow.
2 adults, 6 kids, 8 people, 1 car. I mean, I know we didn't have 8 sleeping bags.
Man.
We figured out some way to cook and,
Right.
you know, we went to some little trailer town that was nearby. We'd go into the mini market there, and that was where we'd go to the bathroom and bathe, you know, in the sink.
Wow.
And then finally, you know, my stepmom and dad got jobs.
Right.
You know.
What were they doing that whole they were performing at
Well,
local places?
They wanted to go to the Reno area and work in whatever, in casinos.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my stepmom worked for a long time as a blackjack dealer. She was attractive, so she could get a job real easy doing that. I can't remember what my dad did. Something like that. But they wanted to be somewhere where they could also sell themselves as entertainers.
Right.
Maybe get into the entertainer market
Right.
that way. And that was kind of his first big time of doing that since they got married, you know. Because I was still, I don't know what grade I was in. I must have been a junior that year. So 15. I turned 16.
Mhm.
We were,